So today on Idiots Go Running, we have Matt. Say hello, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
On our show, we've got a guest who likes to run. Do they really? Do they jog around the place just for fun? That's not fun. Are they a professional athlete? Nope. Lining at the start with the elite? It don't matter. We've got a guest on our show because we asked and they didn't say no. It don't matter because our show has a guest. It does. Pretty much because we asked and they said yes.
So, Matt, I'll let you finish your drink. How are you?
I am fantastic. That is the word. Wow. Fantastic.
And Andrew, how are you? Because you're with us.
I'm outstanding. I'm here too, Colin. It's not just you and Matt. I'm also in this interview, and I'm outstanding.
So, Matt, today, obviously, me and Andrew have finished our big run, and we've had you on previously talking about your MS Run the US, Matt, and you're here to talk to us today about your event. So we'll start off with before the event.
Before the event. So we could go a couple of different ways there. There's talking about training, right? For one thing, training, I feel like I crushed, right? Like I have never gone into an event feeling more prepared than I felt for this. And honestly, even some of my long runs coming into the end of training, it was like I didn't even want to stop. I was feeling so good that I was telling myself I can literally run like 150 miles in one go if I want, which is crazy. And I was probably wrong about that, but that's at least what I was telling myself, you know, especially if it was flat, easy terrain. I felt that good going into it. So that's some of the before. Also before, we can talk about fundraising and, you know, kind of raising awareness and whatnot. I did a lot in the 6 months leading up to the run to try and raise awareness. I had events. I gave talks. My company got involved. You know, I shared my story with my company and really felt that I had the support of all of my colleagues, as well as friends and family, of course. Yeah, I don't know. What else do you want to know about before? What am I not talking about that you're interested in?
Well, two things I'll jump in here, Colin. The first thing is training plan. As you know, Matt, I had a no-plan training plan, a no-plan plan. You were quite the opposite. Tell us, did you come up with your plan? Did you Google it? Were you given it? Tell us just about the plan, because I'm foreign to these plans for going out running, I have to say.
Yeah. I definitely would not thrive under a no-plan plan. I was given a plan by MS Run the US has a running coach that creates the plans for everyone. And up until probably the last month of training, I followed that plan exactly to a T. And then around the last month of training, Colin and I had actually spoken, and we talked about how he had taken 3 weeks off prior to the Northern Iron that you both did, and that he felt absolutely incredible. So for me, I couldn't take a whole month off before my run. That's just not even part of my DNA. But I stopped following the plan exactly, and I reduced a lot of the miles overall. To where, you know, the last 3 weeks or so was very easy running. I think my longest run in the last 3 weeks was maybe a 16-mile run. So, you know, the plan called for more, and I probably reduced the mileage over the last 3 weeks by about 30% from what the plan actually called for, which did have a cutback, but not as significant of a cutback as what I did.
And was there any reason for you cutting back so much, or was it because you were listening to someone like myself who has so much good advice to give, Matt?
There were multiple reasons. One, I didn't want to come in overtrained. Two, yeah, Colin, I think you talked me off of a ledge a little bit, especially because, you know, we were talking about the impact that training has on family too.
Yep.
And I was recognizing and being reminded by my family that, like, hey, we're not spending a a whole lot of time together. And so, especially with your encouragement, Colin, and actually, Andrew, I'm going to give you a shout out here too. Colin said, this is why Andrew has a no plan. It's because he's a family guy and he's really focused on family. And
my wife didn't even realize when I went out running, happened so little, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. So for me to see how well you both did in your 108 miler, knowing that Colin had just taken 3 weeks off and that Andrew had a no plan, which, by the way, you should market that people would buy that plan. That in combination with feeling the need to be more present for my family, I still wasn't as present as I wanted to be because I have this type A personality where adjusting the plan was already like a disaster for me to do. But I convinced myself with Colin's help to do that, and I did cut back.
Yeah. And Andrew, what about these rest days? What's your best tip of advice for the rest days that you could have given Matt back then?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. You just have to enjoy the rest day, watch a bit of YouTube, put the feet up, don't go out running, don't think about running. Came very natural to me, Matt, I have to say. I love a good rest day. Love a good rest day.
There were plenty of times during my 6-day run where I said, I don't have any regrets, but if there was one thing I could have done more of in the training, it's YouTube.
Oh, without doubt, it got me through that 128 miles.
So bad. That's your training. We've spoke about your training, and now we're on the cusp of starting your run. How were you feeling the couple of days before the run? Were you looking at the weather? Were you thinking, am I fit enough? Was there anything niggling you? Was your family pushing you out the door, trying to get you there? Nerves. I always get this phantom injury where something happens to me before my run. And Andrew, you'll remember me stepping off my step a week out of Mizendamallen, and I got this shitting pain up the back of my leg, Matt. I couldn't go downstairs, and Andrew's looking at me going, how are you going to run like the country? And I'm going, I don't know. And I couldn't explain it. Was there anything happened to you? What were you feeling like? I suppose what I'm trying to get to.
So I'll start with the weather. When I was looking at the forecast and I was seeing just how hot it was going to be, let's see here. I stopped. We'll put it that way. I stopped looking at the weather because it was, there's nothing I can do about it. So why even bother? With the heat index, which factors in the humidity, there were multiple days that were going to be over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's about 38 Celsius.
That's warm, Matt. That's warm.
Yeah. So, it was like, why even look? There's nothing I can do. They're not going to cancel the run. So I stopped thinking about that. Now, as far as fitness level is concerned, I've never felt more fit. I still feel like that. If not for the injuries that we're going to talk about, I could go run 100 miles right now. So I felt great. Yeah. Spoiler alert, if you haven't been following along, spoiler alert. But yeah, fitness wise, I felt great. And there was a little bit of anxiety around, and I know, Colin, you felt this with Mizendamallen also. This is highly publicized. I've been talking nonstop about it for more than a year, So the pressure you put on yourself to do well, to make it through, to not get injured, and to just give it your best. I think, that creates anxiety naturally. And then injury-wise, so I confided in both of you at some point throughout my run or into the run that as I was racking my brain around what could have caused my injuries, I do recall, I think it was 2 days before I left for Nebraska, that I was walking in my kitchen. I did not slip. I did not trip. It was a normal step that I took, but I remember taking a step and having shooting pain in my left knee. And I told myself, that's a phantom injury. It's not real. I ignored it, and I did baby that knee. I walked very carefully and slowly over the next 2 days. I did one run after that where I only ran, I think, 2.5 miles, and it felt fine. So I said, that's all in my head. But that may have actually been the reason on day one that I already had an injury. I felt it at about 8 miles into my run.
Well, so I suppose there's definitely links between our run, Andrew, and Matt's run, because 8 miles into our run, my bag broke. So it's kind of the same as an injury.
I mean, you're relying on your bag just about as much as I was relying on my leg.
Yeah, but you were able to change your bag. Matt wasn't able to change his leg. You know what I mean?
Well, I had electrical tape, Andrew. Matt, could you not have stuck a bit of electrical tape around your knee or something? That held my bag together. I'm not giving you any ideas, but it worked for me. So you're sitting on the first day, but Matt, I was following your story, and I was checking the weather for you. Okay, and I was going, flip, Matt, this looks hot around that area. So, I was also looking at it going, and there's a wee bit of thunder. Was there? There was thunder at the start. So you had walked around your kitchen. You had an issue with your knee. Though it was going to be warm and humid, and thunder at the start. Am I right in saying that? Was that the first day?
Yeah, the very first day there were storms. We planned on starting my run at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and we kept on checking the weather because the organization has rules to keep us safe, which I'm all for. And you can't run if there has been any lightning spotted within 30 minutes. So we kind of delayed in our RV, waiting to even head out to where I was going to start until it looked like the weather was going to clear up. So we were delayed about an hour and a half that first day. We got a late start. Yeah, in fact, there were 4 out of my 6 days where there was lightning in the mornings. And I think 2 of those days, there weren't actually storms. It's just what's known as heat lightning, from when it's like that hot and there are clouds.
Wow.
So that was interesting, trying to, make sure we're being safe, which heat lightning, less of a risk. Usually that's not striking downward at the ground. It tends to stay in the clouds, but still it was something we were trying to balance to make sure that we were making safe decisions.
And why so early, Matt? 5 a.m. Why so early? Was that just to try to avoid the heat of the day? Because that's very early. Like what time did you get up at, and what did you have? Did you have porridge? Did you have a bagel? What do you have for breakfast? And can you even eat at that time in the morning?
I'm very regimented, right? So every day I had the same thing for breakfast. I had a cup of coffee, which was coffee with electrolytes, by the way.
Wow.
A specific coffee made for runners. And then I had a toasted bagel and eggs on the bagel. And that was it every day. Same thing. Getting up early was to allow myself to go through my stretching and foam rolling routine. And I do some work with the lacrosse ball also to just try and keep my hip flexors loose, my glutes loose, and to massage whatever's aching me. And then, depending on where we were staying, because the RV would stay in one location for 2 or maybe 3 nights at a time. So we would be driving back and forth to the campsite and where I last left off. So we had to have time for driving also. But the main purpose of the early start, like you said, is to avoid the heat. They didn't want us out on the road more than 8.5 hours at a time. And kind of counting backwards from when is the heat worst, it was, okay, well, what's the earliest then within reason that we can get started?
Flip me. So you were fighting against the elements and then your leg. So you said 8 miles, you started to feel an injury. And I remember, was it one of your videos or something you sent saying, I feel it, but I'm going to take it easy on it, and I'm going to conserve a bit of energy. That's what you did whenever you started to feel a niggle, is to go, right, I'm not going to go hard the first day. I'm really going to relax and take it easy, and that's what happened. Am I correct in saying that? Yeah.
Yeah, you and I were messaging back and forth, and I had told you, I feel this injury. I know what this injury is. I've had it multiple times before, so there was no mistaking it. It was my IT band on my left knee, which is where I've had it always too. It's always been my left IT band, and so I knew exactly what it was. I knew exactly what the exercises are to try and stay on top of it, and what stretches I needed to do. So I immediately did those things, and I stopped running on that day, just a little after 8 miles in, because I said, I know that running is what will aggravate it. So I still made it 28 miles on that day, just walking as fast as I could, and playing this mental game with myself of, it's not that bad. You're going to make it. You're going to be fine. Because when you're out there basically all alone, granted, I did have my cell phone, and on this particular day, it was safe to communicate with people because I was mostly on a trail for that day. But outside of that, I'd see the crew every 3 to 5 miles, and then you're just off on your own. So I'm telling myself the whole time, this is nothing. I've got this. And no matter, how bad this gets, I'm going to be able to keep going. And just tried really hard to keep myself in that positive headspace to be able to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, so that was day one. So day one, injury, niggles, you're starting to get going. And what were you thinking going into that sleep at that night and waking up the next day? Was that not bothering you having the niggles?
I was thinking, I hope this is the best sleep I've ever gotten. That it does some miracle on my body, and that I'm in good shape to start the day.
And were you sleeping in the RV then?
Yeah.
And the whole crew sleeping in the RV?
Yep. There were 3 people as part of the crew. I had, it's probably bigger than like a double bed. It's a decently wide bed that, I think would easily fit 2 people that I had to myself. So that particular night, the first night of running, I slept the best I did, I think, the entire week. I had difficulty sleeping the rest of the nights, unfortunately, to no fault of the crew or the RV. It was all great. It was, just my own issues keeping me up at night. So,
and I'm right in saying a good sleep before a run is important, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, definitely.
Because Andrew, you and me, the night before, we hear this one, Matt, and you know where I'm going with this, don't you, Andrew?
I think so.
So, Matt, previous years, me and Andrew go up to Mum and Dad's caravan, and it's close to the north coast where the run was starting. Last year, I got the nice bed that doesn't change, it sits there, and Andrew had to make up his bed, which is putting sofas together in this caravan. You going to say something, Andrew?
Nope, this is all factually correct so far. Continue.
Okay. So Mum and Dad decided to change the caravan between our previous run and this run, a new caravan. Matt, I hadn't been into this yet. And Andrew goes, Colin, do you mind if you sleep on the sofa? I go on, well, that's a bit, I'm hardly going to say no.
I didn't really say it that way, Colin. I think I said, do you mind if I take the good bed? I'm implying that you would sleep on the sofa, but it was just kind of, you had it last time, so fair is fair. I
thought you were just going to say you're older, so you have the authority to claim whichever sleeping space you would like.
Just pull it rank, because last time I didn't sleep well at all, so I thought this time I need my sleep because it's a bit of a longer distance and I really haven't trained much, so I need every ounce of sleep I can get.
So even before Matt, that we walked in and the 2 sofas are sitting there and they're quite thin, like you could sleep in it curled up in a ball. If you could see me, I'm like sort of curled up. And Andrew goes, Colin, you don't need to make the bed, just sleep in one of them. And I'm kind of going, what do you mean? It takes 2 seconds, Matt, to pull these slats across, to put the cushions on and give myself a big, nice double bed. Oh no, old Andrew there goes, I'm taking this bed, and to save us 5 seconds, you can sleep on a wee, small, thin sofa that you can barely sit on, Matt.
Well, in fairness, it wasn't saving us anything because I wasn't going to do anything. It was saving you. I was thinking about you. I was saving you time. It made no difference to me, Colin. In fairness.
Thank you very much. So Matt has a nice big RV. Matt has a nice big RV, and Andrew pushes me to a wee silly sofa. So what was your crew like then, Matt, in the evening? Like, what did you do in the evening in the RV? Was it just sleep? Was it foam rolling? Was it Sky Joe?
When I got back to the RV every day, it was, if the campsite would allow it, we would fill up an inflatable pool with ice water for me to do an ice bath. If they didn't, then we would at least do like a 5-gallon bucket for ice. And they would make me a lunch, which, again, very regimented. So it was the same lunch every day. It was a deli meat sandwich with pickles and lettuce and mustard, and then an apple and cucumbers, and then I would foam roll and stretch. We would have dinner, which most nights they would cook dinner in the RV, and that was the only variety that I had throughout the week. The crew, they were great at cooking. Heidi did most of it. That was her name. And just phenomenal food. It was delicious. One night we had fajitas with rice and beans and veggies. And there was another night where we did quinoa with chicken sausage. And it was just fantastic. I mean, I ate better food in the RV than I did at a lot of restaurants, you know.
I was about to say you have to be careful where that was going, because I thought you were going to say at home or something. But
you could be in trouble there. You could be in trouble.
You could have been in a lot of trouble. I was going, say restaurants or something else. Don't say like I normally would eat.
Yes, no, I know better than that. We also had a tradition of watching at least one funny YouTube video a night. So Andrew would appreciate that.
Oh, tell me more, Matt. Tell me more. YouTube and food. That sounds great.
Yeah,
that sounds great so far.
And resting and relaxing, right? That's what we were doing. So I don't remember what it was. The first night we were talking about something. I think we were talking about karaoke. You know, just getting to know one another. And I was talking about how that is something that I enjoy. And I had shared with the crew that the next time I go karaoke, I want my wife and me to do the version of Don't Stop Believin' by Journey that Will Ferrell and Jimmy Fallon did together, where Jimmy Fallon is singing and Will Ferrell is heckling from the audience and just responding to every line that Jimmy Fallon sings. And they hadn't seen that video. So I showed them the video, and we had fun with that. And so the second night, I thought of another funny video, and I just said, hey, I guess it's a tradition now. We're going to do this every night. So each night we watch different kind of funny videos that, you know, at least that I find funny, but they seem to enjoy or at least humor me in watching them also.
Matt, that is class. You're going to get Andrew to sign up for this.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. So it does. And then, Matt, just to follow up about the team, two things there. You maybe touched on it slightly. Did you know these people before? Had you met them, or were they completely new to you? And then the second follow-up question is, you're doing a segment of Run the US. Is this the same crew that does every segment with the RV? So,
yeah, they were new to me. I had never met them before. I had only heard wonderful things about them, which I can affirm, all of them. They, for the most part, are doing the entire relay, which started in April and ends at the end of August.
That's some commitment, isn't it?
3 people. Yep.
Wow.
It's a husband and wife, and then the husband's best friend. So the 3 of them. And the 2 guys, they are primarily film crew. They're filming a documentary that they're hoping to take to film festivals for this year's relay. But they are also just getting footage for the organization. They do videos also and put things on YouTube. So you might like that, Andrew. And then they also help, though, with crewing me like you would any kind of ultra runner over a distance. So, and they're phenomenal because I am very specific in terms of what it is that I'm looking for. Yeah, and I'm, again, very regimented in my nutrition as well, even for these long distance runs. Every 15 minutes, I'm hydrating. And then 45 minutes into every hour, I would eat solid food also. So every time I was meeting up with the crew, I had already told them what I want for the next time that I come, because as Nick has taught us previously, you got to change out your fluids, right? You can't just drink the same thing. So I had 3 different Tailwind flavors that I was using. And every 15 minutes I was drinking, but I would rotate between water and Tailwind. And then I was changing up my Tailwind so that way I didn't get fatigue from the same thing. And then anytime I actually came to the crew car, I also had a third beverage, either another electrolyte mix or Gatorade that I was just drinking in addition to every 15 minutes, just because of the heat and humidity. That was something that I said, we've got to stay on top of this. So every 15 minutes is already pretty good. But I didn't, once you get dehydrated, recovering from that is really difficult. And I did not want to get into a hole as far as recovery from dehydration is concerned.
Yeah, because I think with dehydration, Matt, it could finish your race there and then. So we're going into day 2 now, Matt. How are you feeling? Day 2, what was the weather like? Did the weather get better? Did it get worse? What was the roads like? What were you running on? The first day you said it was a lot, predominantly trail. Second day, did that change?
Second day, I was running through more of a suburban area that eventually went through kind of city also, just outside of Omaha, Nebraska. And it was a pretty hot day. It started off already maybe 27, 28 Celsius to start the day.
At what time? What time?
That was around 5 o'clock. Yeah.
Wow.
And when we started the day, my knee already hurt. And the crew had said, look, I was their 12th runner. And they said, we've seen a lot of runners deal with injury throughout this. And what tends to work for many of them is you start with walking and then, give yourself a couple of miles to kind of loosen up and then try and run. So that's what I did. And I was running off and on. And that became a theme for the week of just try and run whenever you can. And as long as the pain is tolerable and running was still faster than walking, then I would run. And, it's interesting. Like, that's not something that I thought I would ever have to grapple with. Hey, running is actually slower than walking. So I was literally, I would look at my watch for my pace and I would compare, okay, walking is 18 minutes a mile. Running is 16 minutes a mile. So we're still running as long as I can tolerate the pain. And, so that day, once I got into the city area, it was excruciating heat. On top of that, I was very noticeably limping really badly. The crew was trying to pull me off, and I was saying, I can still go. And
so when you say they were trying to pull you off, quit for the day or quit for the segment, or how did that go down?
Yeah, I should clarify, given some language differences. So the crew was trying to get me to stop for the day because of just how badly I was limping. And we were communicating with cell phones. And I had said, look, I'd still like to keep going. Just meet me at, the next point that you can. At this point, it was maybe a mile ahead. And I said, let's swap out my fluids and let's try and keep going. And by the time I had gotten to that meetup, we were about to get on another trail, and the car couldn't come exactly to where I was. So Heidi on the crew had walked, I think, 2 blocks to come meet me, and she was carrying everything that she needed to swap out with me. But I was fighting back tears in the moment. I was in so much pain, and on top of that, this was the one time where my MS actually started to really become a factor over the 6 days. So I was also really dizzy and imbalanced and feeling weak, but I didn't want to stop. And for me, when MS impacts me, I know I have a pretty good feeling of what I can and cannot handle. And also, generally, I've been very fortunate that even in moments like that, I'm not necessarily going to be impacted the next day because I've had a moment like that. I've learned in my almost 5 years now since being diagnosed. So Heidi had said to me, "You look awful. We should stop." She said that out of concern, of course,
Yeah.
And I said to her, what I'd really like to do, because at that point I was only 22 miles in for the day, and my goal was to do 28 miles a day. So that way my last day could be an easy 10 miles, I think is what I was shooting for. And I said, what I want to do is sit in the shade and just try and see if sitting here, hydrating, trying to cool off for the next 10 minutes or so, if my symptoms get any better. If they get worse, then I'll agree to stopping for the day. If they remain the same, then I'd like to try and walk for a mile and then reevaluate. And if they get better, like, let's try and run again. So she agreed to that, and we sat there for maybe 15 minutes while I was hydrating. And, she even told me afterwards, she said, I was explaining to you what the route does from where we were, and you just were not processing, which, again, that's one of my MS symptoms. Now, I'm very fortunate that usually I'm not impacted cognitively, but sometimes if my MS is acting up, understanding things, it's just like you're getting a message that you don't understand. And so she was really concerned and thought, because that mirrors dehydration. Sometimes people are not thinking clearly when they're dehydrated too. So for me, though, that was my MS acting up in that moment. But after 15 minutes of kind of relaxing, trying to get it together, I stood up. My symptoms were the same. And I said, since they're not worse, I want to walk a mile, because we had seen that there was a very doable meeting point for the car and me a mile away. And Heidi said, I still don't really feel comfortable with that, because, again, this is only their second day of getting to know me. And does Matt really know his body, or is he dehydrated and this is about to be awful, right? So she said, would you let one of the other crew members, his name is Barnes, walk with you for the next mile? I was like, heck yeah, like, sure, you can join me. I'll feel better about it. You'll feel better about it. And if I'm not better in a mile from now, then let's reevaluate. And so we walked very slowly. It was probably 25, 30 minutes a mile. And mind you, we're at that like 38 degree Celsius temperature. And so as we got to the mile, I still wasn't feeling better. And Barnes and I talked about it and said, it's not worth it to be out in this extreme heat while going so slowly. If I were going faster, one, at least I'm, making up some distance. Two, at least I would be getting some breeze cooling me off.
Yeah.
And, there also weren't a lot of logical meetup points in the next 8 to 10 miles where it would be easy for the crew to swap out my fluids, get me ice, anything like that. So they said, let's just call it a day today, get back and focus on recovery. And Colin, you may recall you and I did a video chat then, right as I wrapped the day. I had just gotten into the crew car and we were headed back. And we talked about it.
You did, because you said, have you got a minute? I think I got a text through from you, Matt, and you said you got a minute. I thought, yeah, I'll ring you. And this is the stage where you should have been running. And you picked up the phone, and you were sitting in a car, Matt, and I was kind of going, my first words was, what are you doing in a car? That's cheating.
That's cheating.
That's cheating. No,
it's a good idea, but it's cheating, Matt.
Get you out of the sun, you're moving faster. No, but then you did explain, you said, look, I missed your message and I should have rang you about 20 minutes ago or whatever. I think when you were probably sitting in the sun,
when I was sitting there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I had called you a wee bit late. So that's my fault.
It's okay. Yeah, you did not sign up to be on call 24/7 for this, so that is okay.
No, I should have, Matt. But like that's a serious heat. That's serious issues. Like there must have been crazy stuff going through your head, and like tips to keep it cool in that heat, Matt. Give us 3 tips for that type of heat, because even without MS, people would be dizzy, a little bit woozy, and they would be feeling that. Like you were walking, and I suppose you're like a pig on a spit, above a barbecue. You were just being cooked. You were just literally being cooked in that sun. So what's your tips for keeping yourself cool?
So one is using a cooling towel. So they absorb, cold water, and then they stay cold longer than just like regular.
I thought that was a fashion. I thought it was a fashion thing, Matt.
Yeah, no, we would.
It looked well.
I brought 2 cooling towels, and we would rotate them. We'd put them in the cooler with all of the ice, and then we would wrap ice in them, and I'd wear it around my neck and tie it. And yes, I looked like Little Red Riding Hood, probably. But I stopped worrying about looking cool at least 10 years ago, maybe longer. So that was using those cooling towels and refreshing the ice frequently. 2, I also was wearing headbands, and I would dip those in ice water and put them on. Or if I was wearing a hat, I would put ice underneath the hat and wear that. And then 3, on the hottest day 3, I carried a separate water bottle just with ice water, specifically to squirt myself with, because even those cooling towels, they would only last maybe 25, 30 minutes. And then after that, I couldn't have the crew meet up with me that frequently. So then I was just squirting myself with ice water to keep cool. On top of that, there's obviously hydration, right? You gotta stay hydrated. And
yeah.
Don't count that one in my 3, because everybody knows that.
that doesn't count. And Andrew, we got ice water, didn't we?
Did we?
We did. We got bottles of water with ice in it. Do you not remember?
We did. I remember the ice lolly, and then we did. Somebody give us bottles of water that was really. No, you got a no. Just wait. You were offered a bottle of water. You were offered a bottle of water. You were like, no, I'm all right. I don't need a water. And then like 4 meters later, you were like, should have took that water. I really needed that water. Here's me. Why did you not take the water? And this was from someone else's crew. So luckily enough, there was a shop, maybe 200 meters away, remember? And I stood, yeah, that's where you got your ice water. You went into a shop and got your ice water. You muppet, yeah. I didn't. I was okay at that time.
Andrew was going, but what are you doing, Colin? Why do you not take the water the guy gave you? And I was going, because Andrew, I want to pay my own way. I wanted to pay my own way, Matt. So, Matt, we're sitting at day 3. We're finishing. You're driving back. Now that sounds like an absolutely horrendous day. Were you ahead of schedule?
On day 3, I started. So there's the schedule I had in mind for me, which was 28 miles a day. And I was behind on that, but I was still on pace for, I think I needed to average 24 and a half miles a day, something like that. And so I was still right on pace for being able to do that. And so, I was telling myself like, hey, we're still good. I'm still right where I need to be.
So at no point up to now did you think I might not do this. This might be too much. That never crossed your mind at all up to this point? No.
No, in fact, I was trying not to be mean about it in any way, or combative, but my only concern was the crew might not let me do it because of my injury.
Yeah.
At the time, that was singular. Injury, one. Spoiler alert, once again. But at no point at all. And by the way, this was before I really understood the 8.5 hour cutoff, because in my mind, it was, okay, if I'm out here 12 hours to get miles,
just keep going. Yeah.
Right. There was never a question in my mind of, can I continue to push through this? Was not even a question.
And then you're also looking at 8.5 hours to do, you're talking on average 24 miles a day. You're thinking, I could do a marathon in 8 hours. So I could do this. So even if I'm walking slow, 8 hours for a marathon, Andrew loves looking at the cutoff points. And that's what helps Andrew do these bigger events, because he was going, I can make them cutoff points. That's the way his brain works, and his that's the way he trains for. He goes, if I can run 16-minute miles, I could do this,
Yeah. It's all kind of convincing yourself what is doable. And maybe I'm not always a realist. I was great at convincing myself what was doable. It was like, oh yeah, this is still, it's in the bag. It's piece of cake, because I believe you've got to, if you start to doubt yourself, if you start to question whether or not you're going to be able to do it, then you're no longer just fighting what it is that you're up against, right? Whether it just be the miles, the distance, the heat, the injury, but then on top of that, you're fighting your own brain too. So as long as mentally I'm on my side, that's one less obstacle that I've got to fight. So the whole time just telling myself, oh, you've got this. This is going to be great. And
did you ever say the words outstanding or fantastic to yourself, Matt?
Well, Andrew, Matt adopted this. He adopted it, Andrew.
Yeah. You guys know this. So maybe this is a good opportunity for us to do a sidebar chronologically and just talk about your roles in my run also. So the listeners should know just how great these two idiots are. And of course, I mean that very affectionately. And I got calls from both Andrew and Colin at multiple points throughout my run. Messages from both of them. Colin recorded and then professionally edited monologues for me every day of the run. And these monologues included trivia about Nebraska and Iowa, things that I didn't even know about. And movie trivia I had on one day, motivational phrases from various countries.
All around the world.
Yeah. It was
did you
phenomenal.
actually listen to them, Matt? Did you actually listen to them?
So what became my tradition during running. So each day I had a playlist that I had asked different people to create for me. So for instance, I ran one day for each of my kids, and each kid had made me their own playlist with a couple hours worth of music. So I would start my day by listening to those playlists. And then once I was through them, then I would listen to Colin's message. So, then I would go from Colin's message to whatever other music I wanted for the remainder of my day. And I enjoyed those messages. But then we also, at various points, had live, face calls, whatever you call it, on WhatsApp. And I started, I think maybe it was the first time I spoke with Colin. He was asking me how I was doing. And I am an optimist, as you guys both know. But instead of starting off by saying I'm doing fantastic, I said, I'm going to start by telling you about what's going great. My head feels great. My upper body is great. My right leg is just doing great. And let's just leave it there. And Colin, I think it was you that I spoke with first. You said, "Let me help you with that. You're doing fantastic." And yeah, so, talking with both of you throughout was great. I mean, even you two were phenomenal. I had so much support from friends, family. My wife had put together cards and letters from people, various areas of my life, family, friends, what have you, that, she had packages for me for literally every day of the run.
That's unreal.
And I got messages
That's
from
an effort.
people
That's
on
some effort.
Instagram, people in our Facebook group. And, I just felt so much support. So, little bit of a sidebar there, but it's worthwhile to mention, because it definitely helped me to stay positive and focused.
Yeah, that's something we learned, Colin, when we were doing our run. You see messages and voice messages and just calls or whatever. It gives you such a lift. Nobody has any idea when you're going through the mill, just during the event, just what it means to get a message or a voice message or a phone call or something like that. It just really lifts you,
It nearly pulls you back into the real world and brings you back to your family and friends, and people actually care and want you to do well and want you to do the run. I think that's what it really gives you, Andrew. It just drags you out of your own head, and I'm in pain, I'm in agony. Oh, flip, people are actually watching me and they care about me, and it gives you that boost, and then you're off again. So, Matt, was day three easier than day two, or how were you feeling? What happened on day three?
Day three, when I started the day, I remember actually saying to the crew, I feel more anxiety today. And I think it's because, even subconsciously, I know what all my body is feeling right now. And I know we're going to get through it. But right now, I just don't know how.
Yeah.
And so I started off walking again. They said, hey, let's try this, start with walking thing and then try and run after a couple of miles. And I tried running several times in the first 7-8 miles of that day. And by the way, this was another extremely hot day. And right from the start of the day, just super, super hot. And I couldn't run. I kept trying. And this is when the pain started to develop in my right foot. And so that's got to be overcompensation, since I was struggling with my left leg from that IT band injury. What we think happened is I was pushing harder with my right foot to overcompensate. And that became the bigger injury of the two injuries. So I was walking and still thinking to myself, like, okay, this is going to be a long day if I can't go any faster. But one thing that was really, really neat that happened early on in that day, this particular day, I was running for, I'll call it my extended family. And so I had gotten a playlist from, my in-laws, cousins, aunts, uncles, my mom, my siblings. And my one uncle had given me songs, not only that he chose for himself, but he said, I want to give you a couple songs that your dad used to like when we were kids. And my dad, he had passed away 5 years ago. And so it was like a neat way to be thinking of my dad even while I was running. And so I was maybe 4 or 5 miles into the day. And there's this song by the band is called BTO, I think. Called You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet.
Oh, I know it well.
Oh, we know that.
Yeah. And it's not a religious song or anything like that, really. But my dad was he instilled faith in my whole family at a very young age. And when that song came on, I was listening to the words. It was like I could feel my dad right there with me. And him telling me kind of through the song, like, I know you don't know how this is going to go or how you're going to get through it, but if you think you've seen incredible things, done incredible things up till now, if you let God work through you, you ain't seen nothing yet. Like
Brilliant.
he can
Love it.
accomplish anything through you. And that really lifted my spirit so much to where I kind of stopped thinking about the pain and just really embraced from that point on everything I was experiencing, because I was like, man, I've got so much support. I feel my dad here with me. I feel inspired to keep going. And so, my mantra from that point on was just, you ain't seen nothing yet. Embrace the pain, embrace the struggle, embrace however ugly this gets, because this is going to be amazing. And it took me a few miles. It was, I think, mile 9, I had met up with the crew, and they said, Matt, if you can't pick up the pace, we're going to be really behind for the day. And that's when I learned about the 8.5 hour rule. And, I think we were, maybe 3.5 hours in, and I had only gone about 8 miles. And they said, you really got to try and figure out how to go faster. So we found a knee brace that I put on. I took some ibuprofen, and I said, let me, as soon as we are on flat ground, I'm going to try and run, because anything angled, if it was an incline or a decline, flexing my foot up or down was extremely painful. And by this day, on day 3, I could still move my foot, but, as we'll talk about, even that kind of went away over time. So about mile 9.5, I hit some flat terrain, and I started running, and I was going maybe 13 minutes a mile. And so I was thrilled. I was super excited. And I got to run across the Missouri River, which is the border between Nebraska and Iowa. I was so excited about that. And maybe 2 miles into Iowa is when Andrew called me. And so we had a video chat. And at that point, I was limping pretty bad. I showed Andrew. I said, well, I'm fantastic. Here's what I'm dealing with. But I kept on that day. I kept, I would run as much as I could. And then when the pain became too much, I would walk. And sometimes I would only walk for 30 seconds or a minute and then try again. And I'd run for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes till I couldn't anymore and just go back to walking. And that was the rest of that day. So I put in around 24.5 miles that day, 23.5, somewhere in there. And felt really good about it, given how slowly I started the day. And not only that, just there are the things people might think based on seeing what you've done, and they make assumptions about, that was really good, or, oh, that wasn't very impressive. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is what's in my own head. And so for me, knowing how much pain I was in and what the heat was like and, all of that, and to know how much I did, like, I know I did my best. And so I was proud of myself. I was like, hey, I might be falling behind mileage wise, but man, for me to be able to say I've done all that I did, given the pain in my knee and the, developing pain in my foot and, the weather and all of that, I was really proud, and still feeling like whatever comes my way, I'm going to be able to handle it.
Wow, Matt, that is pure mental strength.
It's pure mental, Colin. Never mind mental strength, it's mental, so it is.
It is absolutely mental, because like we can come up with any excuses to stop running or to not go out for a run. Andrew, I'm looking at you, by the way.
Yeah, but to keep going and going and going, it's
through MS, through the heat, through the
injuries, multiple injuries, and then hearing your crew say you really need to pick up the pace here, Matt. Oh man, like that's that's like kicking a man when he's down,
Right.
Like
wasn't what I wanted to hear, but it was what I needed to hear, and that's okay. It was the reminder of like, hey, don't let up. You still, you still got to give it your all. And, so it was necessary, and I'm glad they pushed me too.
Yeah, because your training runs were quick. There was no, like you were doing everything on point then. If you imagine back in your training run to say that you'd only run, not only, but, was it 9 mile in how many hours? 3.5 hours or something? You'd be looking at yourself going, wow, this is crazy. Like,
it was a humbling experience because you guys know, I know, Colin, you don't like to talk about speed or anything, but, my marathon times are between 3:30 and 4:30, and 4:30 is when I'm trying to run a relaxing marathon.
Yeah, so it's not like you run slow times. You're like, this isn't like the norm or anything. Like, this is, this is crazy. This is another world,
My long runs during training, I was averaging 10.5 minutes per mile. And those didn't feel like running to me. They felt easy. And I learned to enjoy that too, to say, I'm just going out to relax for 3 hours, for 4 hours, I truly, I learned to enjoy it. It used to drive me nuts anytime I was going slower than 9 minutes per mile. And so making that shift to 10 minutes, 11 minutes per mile, that's great. And then to come into this where running is 15 minutes a mile, 16 minutes a mile, eventually 20 minutes a mile was literally running. It's very humbling for me.
Humbling, and again, more mental strength,
Yeah, it was, I have a quote, Dean Carnazes, friend of the show, as Andrew always says, I'm going to have to get it in there, but Dean Carnazes has his quote, he goes, if marathon's a boxing match, ultra running's a bare knuckle bar brawl. And that's what it really was for you, Matt. You were in the middle of a bare knuckle bar brawl at this stage. And I think, Matt, this is going to be a two-parter.
Oh, it has to be a two-parter. And you know what? You were like in a teddy bear's picnic of a bare knuckle brawl. It just wasn't one bear. It was multiple bears you were facing at this stage, Matt. Multiple bears.
I was going on a bear hunt.
You were going on a bear hunt. And you know what? The other members of your team, bears catching, Matt. You really got to pick up the pace. The bears catch it. Bear hasn't ate for 2 days, Matt. Looks hungry. It's a hungry-looking bear. Oh, his brother and sister and daughter's coming. Better run, Matt. Yeah, we're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch
Matt
a Matt
looks
one.
just right. But yeah, so you couldn't go over it. You couldn't go under it. You had to go through it, Matt. And a teaser for the second part, the weather changes. The weather changes and things get even worse. If they could get worse.
And maybe, just maybe, there's jelly involved.
That's right. That's right.